Hi there and welcome to Wild Bird Farm. I'm Tara. I garden here in Zone 5 in central Iowa. This will be my 5th year starting lupin. I have a 25-foot row perennialized out in my cut flower garden, and I'd like to add some to my landscape. So we're going to be starting seeds today. A couple things to note about lupin. It is a perennial in zones 4 through 8. Please take note though that all parts of the plant are poisonous. This isn't an edible flower. This isn't something if you have a curious cat or dog that you probably want in your garden. So keep that in mind. Lupin also has a taproot. So in saying that, it generally doesn't like to have its roots disturbed. So if you have a little bit deeper or bigger cell containers, that would probably be a good idea to start it in those. Today, I'm going to use what's the equivalent of a 72 cell size. This is just a 40 count. It's just a smaller tray. I do get these on Amazon. I'll put the link down in the notes. But I noticed on Johnny's seed packet, it recommends nothing smaller than a 32 cell size. So that's significantly larger than this one here, giving it more room for the taproot. I haven't had a lot of trouble when I've been planting these out. I think I plant them out young enough that the roots aren't so established in the cell tray that they really mind being transplanted, but that's something to keep in mind. I'm starting these pretty early. I'm starting these 2 full months before I plan to plant them out. So if they start really filling up this cell tray, I will pot them up into some single cells that I have that are going to give them an additional inch or inch and a half of space for them for their roots. So we do want to be careful when we transplant. And then the other thing, sometimes they're a little bit tricky to start from seed. They have a very hard seed coat. So you'll notice that I have mine soaking in water. There's 2 ways I've done this, and this year I kind of did a mix of the 2. So you can pour the seeds into a little bit of water 24 hours before you want to plant them out. That just helps soften their seed coat. Now, the other thing that I have done in past years is I've taken nail clippers and just clipped a tiny little bit off of that hard seed coat. You don't want to take a big clip out of it. You're just kind of puncturing the seed coat to help the water get in and soften it up. This year I did both. Since I didn't start these last night, I got up this morning. I nicked the seeds, which I have a video of, I'll show you in just a minute. And then they've been soaking in this water for about an hour. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of both methods here this year, which I've done that in past years. I actually find that I have pretty good germination. I noticed on Johnny's seed packet, it also says to put 2 to 3 seeds in each cell. I'm not going to be putting 3. I think in a couple of cells I'll put 2, just so if I do have some empty cells, I can kind of move them around. But my goal is to have 40 nice starts to plant out this year. So let's pause just for a minute and let's look at the video of how I got these seeds ready to plant. So not much to it, just taking my nail clipper and just taking the tiniest little snip off of the seed. Now you can kind of see a difference in either end of the seed. I haven't seen where it mattered where you made the clip. I just wouldn't make it directly on top of kind of that lighter white area on the one end. And then I just pop them in the water, and again this time I'm letting them soak for just about an hour, but you can do longer. At this point, I have a couple different cultivars. So I have the Perennial that I planted the first year. And then for the last couple years, I've been planting the Russell's Mix, which is part of the Polyphyllus, I believe you say it, family. And then this year, I am doing the My Castle, which is also a subsection of that Russell's Mix, which comes in the reds and the pinks color. So while all of these are perennials in my garden, some are closer to the native species and some have been hybridized. the screen. Now where I live, it's not going to spread out of bounds. I've had it for 5 years now. It stays exactly in its row. It does reseed some, so it's really filled that row out pretty nicely. But each year there's been holes, and that's why I keep growing 40 to 80 plugs just to kind of fill in that row. This year I am planting my castle, and it's from Johnny's, and I think we're ready to get started. I've got you zoomed in so you can see what I'm doing here. I did want to show you real quick. I didn't use all the seeds, and I noticed that they've grown considerably since being in the water for an hour. So these are some that were not pre-soaked. See if I can get 3 of them. And there's 3 that were. See the size difference? So they grow in size rather rapidly once they're soaked. All right, so we are going to start with 1 seed in most of these cells, and then if I have extras, I'm going to come back through and put 2 in. Now, darkness does aid in germination for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a dibble and just lightly make a little pocket where I'll set the seed. Okay, found a Sharpie that'll work for a slight dibble. Not a lot, just somewhere where that seed can rest. And in addition to covering this with a bit of soil and watering it in well, I'm also going to put a solid colored bottom tray on top of it, just to make sure that they really have darkness, since that helps them germinate. Okay. And then it's just a matter of popping the seeds in that little well that I've made. Oops. I'm really curious to know if you guys have started lupin before, and what types you have, how you're using it, if it's just in your landscape or maybe you're a cut flower grower. So you have quite a bit planted for that. Always love to hear how people use different plants in their yard and garden areas. I can tell I'm going to have way more seed than what I planned here. Whoops. Probably going to double up. I may even get a second tray going. We'll have to see how many we have at the end here. Now the soil is lightly moistened. I did that before I put it in the cell trays. I'm using my own seed starting mix that I made this year, and I did a video on that. If you're interested in trying some of your own and want to reference that, it's one of my recent videos. I can put a link in the notes as well. But I found myself buying bag after bag of the seed starting mix and potting soil. So just thought I'd try my own this year. All right, I'm going to count how many extra seeds we have here to determine what I should do for. Yeah, we have quite a few. I think I'm going to end up doing a second tray because, again, germination has been pretty good for me on these. So for now, let's just cover these up. So we're going to go through, just gently cover up the seed that we popped down in that well. Now, if your soil is a little bit drier, you could do this with water too. Like a decent blast of soil is going to kind of move that soil around enough to cover them up. But my soil is pretty saturated. I'm just going to give it a light misting at the end here, just to kind of settle the soil around the seed more than cover it up. Now out where we're working today, it's chilly. It is about 50 degrees out here. Now they will germinate eventually, but I want to get them going a little quicker. So I'm going to take them, sticks in here. I'm going to take this into my grow room, which is consistently about 70 degrees. It might get a little bit warmer as I get more plants in there and more lights turned on. But then when they have their second set of leaves, I will bring them out here, which by then this area will be closer to 60 degrees, and I'll let them grow on a little bit cooler. Now I have noticed out in the row that I do have established, it self-seeds pretty well. So if you start with a single plant, you might come out the next year and see that you have 2 or 3 there now. And if you're careful and mindful of that taproot, and I would do it when they're pretty young, you can move them around your yard and sort of multiply what you have. All right, so I decided I'm going to start a second tray since I have quite a few seeds. I didn't do very good counting, but just to kind of wrap this up, this is a solid bottom tray. So what I will do, I'm going to head into the house. I'm going to take my sprayer, just real lightly settle the soil. Got to label it because I'll forget what it is, although these are pretty easy to tell as seedlings. And then it's going to sit like this in my grow room until I see the little babies popping up. Once they pop up, I'll take this off and then it will sit under grow lights, like I said, for about 2 months. Johnny's seed packet says 4 to 8 weeks. So we're going to shoot for a little bit bigger plant to plant outside. And then I will probably bring you along when I plant these out in my production rows. If you have any questions, drop them below. I would be happy to answer them, and I'll see you in the next one.